Welcome to the April edition of cPanel Live. I'm your host, Jason Nickerson, and today's broadcast is Get Started with MailNode. In this broadcast, we'll be speaking with cPanel Senior UI Developer, Dustin Scherer, and a special Q&A guest, cPanel Founder and CTO, Nick Koston. Today we're broadcasting live on cPanel.live, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And we'll be taking your questions after the presentation. If you're watching this on cPanel.live, head over to Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube after Dustin's presentation to participate in our Q&A session. If you're already watching on one of these social networks, feel free to start posting your questions in the comments in the chat. Linked mail nodes are a new feature in cPanel version 94 and version 96 and allow you to offload email management from your primary cPanel server onto a secondary server. So let's hand it over to Dustin now and find out more about linked nodes and the cPanel mail node. Take it away, Dustin.
Welcome, folks. Today I'm going to be demonstrating how to set up and utilize a linked mail node. If you're not familiar with linked mail nodes, let me explain it a bit first. If you've been reading spoilers and know the gist of it, sit tight and I'll get to the finer points momentarily. Linked mail nodes is a feature we've been working on for a while that allows server administrators to offload mail-related functionality to a separate server or servers. Functionality like webmail, Dovecot, Exum, and Spam Assassin. The system currently supports multiple child nodes per parent and allows you to configure each account to use a specific node for that account's mail-related functionality. If that didn't make any sense, I'll explain as I go through the demo, and there will be time for questions at the end. Now let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go create a new account. Well, I want to do new.cpanel.net. Go ahead and give it a password. No, you can't know what my password is. So I'm going to come down here. This seems mail related. Mail routing settings. And you'll see a new option here. Mail child node. Well, it won't let me select the option. Let me see if I can find out more. It looks like I need to create a new linkage between the two servers. So I'm going to click this. It'll take me over to that interface. Go ahead here and create a linkage to that existing child node server. I happen to know that that child node is cPanel.email. It goes ahead and creates a friendly name, something you can reference later in other interfaces that you'll need this information. Name it something that's friendly to you. Go ahead and put in the password here. Hit create. No LastPass, I don't need your help, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new account that utilizes that linkage. So we're going to go new.cpanel.net. This looks familiar. We were just doing this. Password. And I'm going to make sure that I leave Spam Assassin, Spam Box. I want all the fancy bits. I'm going to come down here and notice that I can now check this box. Host cPanel email. All right, that's what I want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Creating account on remote node. That's what I wanted. No LastPass. Thank you for trying, though. Now, for our purposes, I'm going to go ahead and create an email. So let me jump over to cPanel here. Create an email. If you haven't seen it yet, this is Glass, our new paper lantern style. I'm going to create a new email. Just call it me at new.cpanel.net. Generate a password. Hit create. I'll go ahead and close that tab. So with there being two different servers, we're putting a lot of effort into ensuring that we're making changes in the right place. So I'm going to go into this other tab that I have here, which is connected to the child node. So you'll notice here, host cPanel email. That's the child node server. So where relevant, you'll notice that on the child node, for accounts that are distributed, which is the term that we use for them, you shouldn't be able to make changes here. We want to make that clear to anybody that would try to do so. For example, let me jump over to modify account. You'll notice on Modify Account, you get this nice little message that says User Editing Locked. You must edit this account on the parent node. Seems pretty obvious, sends you back to the parent node. Because we want those changes to be made there so that they propagate down accordingly. Beyond this, things like logging in. There's no reason that a cPanel user would ever want to log in on the child node. They're still going to log in on their main node. They're going to want to go to whatever URL they're using there, be it cPanel.new.cPanel.net. Kind of overloaded there. Let's see. So, for example, if I were to go and try to log in directly on the child node, say new cPanel, login is invalid because that is not a valid login on the child node. So we did that with a lot of UIs in here, but not everybody accesses the UI directly. Some people do things on an API. Sometimes there's integrations, or they've written a script to do a certain thing. And in that case, we wanted to make sure that they did it in the right place as well. So I'm going to jump over to the terminal here. If I log in to my child node, and let's say for new cPanel, I'm going to go ahead and try to create, let's see, add pop. No, let's do new API, user equals new cPanel, email, add pop. Well, that didn't work. I didn't bother filling out the information because I knew it wasn't going to work. You'll notice that you get an error message here. It's actually parsable now. We've been doing this in a few places where you'll get a parsable detail. We use those internally. But the error message itself says, do not send API requests to this node. Send those requests to the account's parent node. If I would have run this same command with the arguments that I need to run on the parent node, it would have gone ahead and created that account. So at this point, since we're talking so much about email, I'm actually going to jump over here and I'm going to create a new email. Let's send this to me at cPanel. No, me at new.cPanel.net. I'm going to say hey, and hope you get this email. It's for a demo. So I'm going to go ahead and hit send. Come on, airmail. And then we'll jump back over here. I'm going to go back to my parent node, list accounts. I'm just going to go through this the impersonation way. So new cPanel.net, email accounts, check email. Haven't configured that. Go ahead and hit open. Hey, look at that. I've got an email from me. Hope you get this email. It's for a demo. All right. So that's that's for creating a new account. But what about an existing account? Because obviously you're going to want to take the accounts you already have and distribute them. So you'll notice here I have existing.cpanel.net. It's almost like I created it just for this demo. So I'm going to go here and, like with most things on an account, when you want to modify the account, you go to Modify Account. You'll notice on Modify Account, we've listed out linked server nodes. Currently, this one is set to use only this server. Well, I want to change that. I want to use host cPanel.net. We're going to go ahead and hit save. Now, this is a background process, as you can see from the top. Some people have a lot of email. So we want to wait until that finishes. The way we actually handle that process is an email will come through letting you know that it's been successfully distributed. And there's my notification. Success. The server has successfully offloaded mail for the user existing cPanel. Let's make sure everything's wired up properly. I'm going to go over here I'm going to create a new email. I'm going to go me@existing.cPanel.net. You didn't see me create that email, but it was already there. So another email, promise it's not spam. How many times do I need to say spam before Spam Assassin actually picks it up? All right, let's hit send. Wait for Airmail to finish what it needs to finish. Let's go list accounts again. Let's just make sure that email was received. Go email accounts. There's the me.existing. Check email. Open up round cube. Another email. Promise it's not spam. All right, so that successfully came through. So I'm going to go back over to list account. Well, there's one more thing I want to show. So we've got these accounts distributed. Both new and both existing are distributed right now. I don't really want that anymore. What if I want to undo this process? I decide I want to undo new.cPanel.net. So I'm going to go over to modify account, just as you saw earlier. And now I can change this to use only this server. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now that we've de-distributed both of those accounts, I'm going to go into link server nodes. And I just wanted to show this before I unlink it because I didn't mention it before. If you go to manage, it shows you a nice little list here of the linkages, the accounts that utilize this linkage. So that'll help you with information when you actually try to go to unlink the node if you ever try to do that. And to that point, I'm actually going to go ahead and hit this. Are you sure you want to remove this? It's a dangerous operation. We want to be sure. Go ahead and remove this connection. At that point, we have gone through the entire process of setting up, utilizing, and de-distributing accounts. I'm going to go ahead and turn things back over to the host for questions and answers. Thank you very much.
All right, and thank you, Dustin, for that great presentation. That was really helpful. I've been really excited about this new feature and thought about all the possibilities it brings, and just being able to see what we've done with the ease of use of the UI, the interface, and then being able to actually do command line things with it, and to actually interact with the API. It's really refreshing to see this stuff happen.
Oh, thanks. We're really excited about this, and we've been working on it a while. We've talked to a ton of partners, customers, users. We've been all over the forums and Discord, if you've seen us there, just trying to get feedback on the best way to handle this and doing a lot of user testing to make sure it's as simple to use as we can make it.
Fantastic. And at this point, I want to introduce our special guest. We have Nick Koston with us. He is the founder and CTO of cPanel. Welcome, Nick. And right now, we have some questions coming in from the audience, and I'd like to start with a quick question, but if you do have questions, go ahead and enter those into the chat of Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. Go ahead and leave a response there, and we'll answer as quickly as we can. My one question would be, Dustin, when we're talking about Mailnode is a link node. Can you explain real quickly for our audience what a link node is and how it actually works and how we can expand upon that?
Sure. So the easiest way to think about this is square is a rectangle, rectangle is not a square. We have linked server nodes, which are really just a way of clustering cPanel servers together for various functionalities. This is the first iteration of that cluster. And this one is specifically Mailnode. So a Mailnode is a type of linkage. As an example of that, we hope to expand to other types of nodes. Something like Mailnode, for example, would be not Mailnode. WebNode would be an example of where we would take this as another one where you can cluster these together and offload specific types of functionality.
Great, and so that's like a parent and child relationship type of thing happening. So,
yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. So We have our first question here from LPO. Is there a command line option to allow mass enablement of the linked mail nodes?
I can answer that. So there isn't a specific command line change for doing all of them at once, but because these are all done through the modify account API, you could very easily batch out running modify account for all of the ones that you want to offload.
That was a great question. And our next question comes from Frank. Does the MX point to the master or the slave? That would be the parent or the child, essentially, right?
Yes. So, Nick, if you don't mind, I'll take this one too. The MX records actually point to the child node. So the parent does the configuration and everything, but when the DNS is configured, they are configured to point directly to the child node. This helps with things like SPF records and DKIM and all of that. So it really becomes necessary for those to point to that in server.
Great. And the next question is, how does this work with disk quotas?
Sure, I'll take that one. So we have a kind of quota rebalancer that runs periodically. So if you have, let's say, a 1 gig quota between the parent and the child, it'll split it. And then if you use more mail, then the quota will move more towards the mail server. And if you use less mail, then the quota will move towards the parent node. And as you add more disk usage on one side or the other, it'll keep rebalancing until you run out of disk space.
Oh, that's great. Michael is asking, will this resolve many of the issues we currently have with the mail on cPanel with Yahoo, etc.?
Nick, I can take this one if you want. So the answer is no, but this won't specifically address issues you might be having with Microsoft or Yahoo or Gmail. But we do have an existing feature, email deliverability, that helps WHM and cPanel users figure out the best way to configure their records to make sure that those are properly signing and SPF records are configured properly and reverse TNS is set up. So I would direct people to there for fixing those kinds of things.
All right, and Eric is asking, how do backups work? Do you back up on the parent server, or do you have to back up both nodes separately?
So when the package account function runs, it will pull in all of the mail from the child node. So you can just do it all in the existing backup system.
Oh, okay.
And to clarify, you would do that from the parent, not the child.
Okay. And we have another question here. While you were switching between the node, I saw the SPF record IP saying the same. Is that correct? Or is mail still delivered on the main server and only sending mail is done from the mail node? Can you tell a bit more about that?
So I'm not sure where you saw the SPF record configuration, but those are directed to that child node. That may have been when I was actually on the child looking at that information, which may have caused the confusion in the demo. I didn't fully clarify when I was jumping between the two servers, but those are configured to point. The parent no longer receives or sends any of the mail once this configuration is set up. That is all done from the child at that point.
Yeah, and in the interim, when DNS is switching over, there is a proxy set up to make sure the mail doesn't get lost.
That's great to know. And we have some more questions coming up, but I just wanted to let everybody know, for more information on Mailnode, you can visit our latest blog post about Mailnodes on blog.cPanel, where we add in all the useful links in the documentation for Mailnode. And if you're looking to increase your offerings or you need more information about cPanel products and partners, please visit store.cpanel.net. And now back to your questions. Chris is asking, how are account backups handled? Is the mail stream back to the main parent server first and then packaged up into the backup file? Or if so, what's the performance of this like?
So the back end here, the account package will actually, so if you were to initiate a package account on the parent, it will actually reach out and I believe that it tars those files and then pulls them into the backup. and they end up getting stored in a separate location within that backup so that the restoration process knows where to put them. So it doesn't stream them across. I believe it pulls an actual packaged version of them. Nick, can you confirm on that?
Some of the newer code is pulling a stream. Some of the older stuff is pulling the tarball. So I'm not exactly sure what version we've actually shipped yet, because we're still, obviously improving this in the background. But the initial, I think 92 version, didn't perform very well, but the newer ones are much better. So.
All right. Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for your question. And Daniel wants to know is what happens if the parent servers fall down or fail?
So if the parent goes offline, the mail will keep working, but the services provided by the parent obviously will stop working. And when it comes back on, it should just link back up.
Great. Yeah. Okay. So we're about 25 minutes in here. We've got about 5 minutes left. So get those questions in real quickly if you can. We want to wrap this up and get you all your answers as quickly as possible. So the next question is, I understand that this feature does not allow you to use the remote mail node to store emails for accounts of multiple cPanel servers, correct? Will this feature be launched in the future?
So I think the question is, you're asking for many-to-one linking? That's not an initial feature in the rollout, but it's something we're talking about potentially doing in the future.
Right, and it's good to let people know too that this feature is available right now in version 96 and 94. It's a lot better experience in 96. I know that the team has done a lot of work to bring it into 96. So this is a feature that you can play with right now and you can use, right?
Absolutely.
That's correct.
And so what about the cPanel performance on microservices?
I'm not actually sure what's being asked here.
Yeah, could you clarify the question?
And a new question is, does the mail node allow direct connections from clients for IMAP, SMTP, POP, and ActiveSync? For example, a DNS template set to send the mail traffic to that specific server.
Yes, the mail connections go directly to the child node.
And follow up here, can you disable SPF record updating when delegating to the mail node? We operate a centralized SPF policy.
I'd have to talk to our QA directly if we've tested that specifically, but the idea is that you can configure the mail node with the same configurations that you would currently configure a standalone server. So in theory, you should be able to do that just fine. I would like to get more information on that just to see if our QAs have actually run through that particular strategy.
Right, and we have a question, is mail node Jet Backup compatible?
I can answer this one. So we actually have reached out to Jet Backup, and because of the way they are changing their backup structure, I don't know if it is ready for the initial offering, but they are aware of it and they are making changes to make it work towards the distributed setups. I would say look for that in a future version of Jet Backup.
Right, and for everybody who is watching this now that has some questions, once we get done, you can go ahead and send your questions to questions@cpanel.com. Watching this. And we have about 1 or 2 minutes here. Do we have any further questions? It looks like we had a little downtime there on the server here, so I'm going to repeat that again. If you have any questions for our team when watching the recording, or after your question doesn't get answered here, you can go ahead and email us at questions.cpanel.net. And one of our final questions here, does a parent node proxy IMAP connections?
So the only time proxy, sorry, Nick, I'll go ahead and take this one. So the idea is that once everything is connected up and sent to the mail node, no proxying is required there. But during that phase where things are being distributed or de-distributed, proxies are put in place to make sure there's still connections available.
Right, and I see some more questions here that they're talking about, and yes, this is, you get cPanel does have the mail node built right into it. So if you're using cPanel now, you can access the mail node in version 94 and 96. And I think we have time for one more question. So Sasha wants to know, will one-to-many links be possible to offer redundancy for end users?
So I can take that one. So,
okay, go ahead.
So like I said, in the first version that's rolling out now, we just have a one-to-one relationship. We're exploring the many-to-one relationship, and part of that exploration may be some level of redundancy, but again, that's not in the initial rollout.
Right. Okay. Well, it's got one more here. Frank wants to know, can we do many parents to one child?
So just I'll refer you back to the previous statement. Yeah, it's a one-to-one relationship currently.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to wrap it up now. We're at our 30-minute mark here. I want to thank Dustin and Nick for a great talk here today and for this great new feature that we have in cPanel. And I want to thank everybody for attending today's broadcast. And for more information about MailNode, you can visit blog.cpanel.net. And don't forget to visit store.cpanel.net for more information on our products and partners. Our next cPanel Live broadcast is going to be on May the 20th, and we'll be talking about cPanel and Alma Linux. Don't forget to register on cpanel.net and sign up for the newsletter for when registration for our next cPanel begins. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.